It's time for Hot Picks, and we're zeroing in on robotic stocks. Our guest has Ondas as his top selection. Just looking at their website, pretty scary. They're involved in military drones, among other things. He sees growth for the company amid demand for commercial drones as well. We're joined by Zeno Mercer, Senior Research Analyst at VettaFi. Thanks, Zeno, for joining us. Fascinating company, Ondas. They're also involved in counter-drone technology. Tell us where you see growth, please.
Yeah, so Ondas is a company we've been following with RoboGlobal and VettaFi for many years now. And I'd like to assuage any fears around the scary elements of Ondas. They're actually more focused on kind of as you said, the counter side, like defense, not in traditional sense of attacking, but in the sense of we're going to see, as technology evolves, as we're seeing more AI and robotics applications, we're seeing new addressable markets expand and also new attack vectors. So Ondas has a mix of products. They've been rolling up companies over the last, let's call it 5 years. And now, so they do, monitoring for, railroads inspection. So they have kind of like a classic communications and inspection angle, but they also have counter UAV. So not attack drones, actually defending against drone threats. And as an example of that, they recently scored a contract with the Israeli border. And that's just one of many potential borders around the globe they could lock into. On that same subject, they're also bidding for things like the World Cup, the Olympics, and other things like that to help protect other assets like airports, stadiums, et cetera. So they've got a really interesting mix of ground and air robotics and control systems. And they're definitely right now a smaller company, but in that $4 to $5 billion range, but they have lots of opportunity to continue to grow into kind of that, let's call it autonomous robotics as a service market.
So these drones would be self-directed to a large extent?
Yes, they have a mix of autonomous drones that can sense, analyze, and act, let's say if there's a threat coming. But they also have other products too that are supervised. And let's back up a little bit. They're all supervised, so they're not fully autonomous in the sense that they're connected to a system and a network that whoever is the purchaser or holder of those assets can manage. But again, we're entering an era of let's call it hybrid autonomy, where we're using assets like this for a number of different things. Like as an example, they scored another contract and have a division for demining. So, not mining and creating weapons, they're actually helping eliminate mines that are in, Israel and, potentially places like Ukraine once the war is over.
That's interesting. I was watching a spy show with my wife last night, and we were wondering, will facial recognition change the spy business? Because if you want to check somebody out now, you can really, you can do it much more easily. I guess they'll be putting facial recognition on drones, but I bet they are already.
Yeah, I would say that technology has been implemented for quite some time now. I mean, police force uses it on cars and scan license plates, facial scanners. I mean, you're going to have to do a lot more than even just wear a mask at some point from that element. So that's a whole different element or angle of computer vision advancements.
SoftBank, we think of them as a merchant bank, a major investment in tech stocks. Tell us what the robotics angle is, please.
Yeah, so exactly. But traditionally kind of telecom and then VC angle. Over the past 2 years, though, we really believe and see kind of this new framing and angle, vision taking shape. Obviously, they have their ARM position, which makes up a lot of their current valuation and is a great proxy for kind of this AI play. Now, AI is distributed in the physical world. We're going to keep hearing conversations around physical intelligence, which is essentially AI acting on objects in the real world, aka robotics. Now, SoftBank also acquired ABB Robotics last year. And so now they have an actual robotics angle. They've got a green box. They've got a joint venture with Symbotic, another player, which actually was, I think, a year and a half ago, one of my top picks back in the end of 2024. They have a partnership with Yaskawa for physical AI, which is a Japanese makes sense. Another Japanese robotics company that's also in our Robo Index, ROBO. And again, they've got these 4 pillars. As he says, they've got AI chips, AI robots, data centers, and energy. And those are actually really, many would say, the 4 pillars of what a lot of GDP will be comprised of is things that excel in those 4 areas.
And finally, an outfit called Novanta. What's their robotics angle?
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to include an angle that's a little different than maybe the application side of things.
Right.
Novanta is very much like a picks and shovel of robotics and physical AI. So they work in precision motion controls, machine vision, photonics, and a lot of tactile touch sensing. As an example, their biggest customer and segment is in surgical robots. And so what we see is if they can excel in surgical robots, and we see these new robotic applications coming, they're in a great position to be involved in and have upside that's really underappreciated in areas like humanoids, drones, and these other markets that are starting to appear. And in fact, in October, they hosted a, let's call it the Humanoid ISO Safety Standards Working Group. So this is clearly an area that they're looking for, but they really haven't, let's be real, they haven't started to get that upside in the numbers, but we think it's just a matter of time.
Fascinating. Yeah, just an exploding area. And I guess all of these companies are possible. Well, maybe not SoftBank, but Ondas and Novanta could even be takeover candidates for a company that wants to boost its robot portfolio.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot more M&A over the coming years. Obviously, robotics is in the spotlight. I think everyone's talking about it from big tech. Even the U.S. government is looking at having a national robotics strategy. There was a bipartisan bill introduced last week. We really are entering, let's call it this Cambrian explosion moment of robotics because of that convergence of AI chips and new form factors and like world models coming together to increase the capabilities and coordination and management of these robots.
Oh, that's interesting. A Cambrian explosion, that period when species multiplied. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it, Zeno.
Thank you.
Zeno Mercer, a senior research analyst at VettaFi.